Hello everyone, I hope that you are each well. If you are here live with me and you can see me, will you just let me know? I am going to be sharing my screen, and StreamYard has a very interesting way of doing, oh no, I don't want to show that, sharing screens. So it would be, I can see that there's some eyes here, but if you can see me, will you just give me a thumbs up? Okay, you can see me, great. Okay, so everybody, welcome. It is so good to have you all with me. We are drawing to a close on the Toddler Play Conference, and today we are diving, hi, I can see you there. Today we are diving into the webinar of what does your toddler need to do in a day? So now I'm going to just flick over to my screen. I won't be seeing your comments, but I'll come back every now and then and see them. When I do this, can you see my presentation here? I should probably do that so I can just come over here. Did you see the presentation? Yeah, okay, I think that's working. If it's not, just let me know, somebody. Okay, so I am so excited to get into this conversation of what do toddlers need to do in a day? And the reason for that is because I, like you, am a parent, and yeah, there comes a point, I'm sure you experience this as well, that you start to wonder whether you're doing enough. You know, whether it's that you hear about something that somebody else does with their children, or you see something on TV. I've seen so many people posting on Facebook groups about they saw some influencer teaching their child the ABCs and they don't know what to do because they're so overwhelmed that they haven't started, and that little child is a year younger. So we all get to this point, right, where we feel like, am I really doing enough? Are we meeting our child's specific interests? Have we done enough with that stuff? And have we done any big experiences? I always wanted to take my children on fishing trips, and we haven't done it yet. And do we have enough quality family time? And should we be doing some enrichment classes, or should we be doing more play dates? So I'm going to pop back over here and you let me know, have you ever experienced that? Yes, you've experienced that as well. I think it's really common, right, that we feel this thing of we just want to show up as parents in the best way that we can, and it can become confusing on how to really do that. I think I'm going to keep this with the, for you guys. So if you've ever thought that, chances are you've probably read the blogs and you probably have those lists, 101 things to do with your toddler. But the thing is, the truth is that often these things don't actually fit for toddlers. Maybe, yes, they do that amazing activity for 5 minutes and you get to take a photo of it, but then they've moved on and it still leaves you feeling well, where are we supposed to be? Have we connected yet? Because the truth is that toddlers are different. This is a critical stage in child development, but the amount of understanding, verbally, non-verbally, just really everything, their understanding of the world, their experiences, their abilities are just so different in these toddler years. So what I wanted to say before we get started is that I'm walking this just like you. I'm sure you've heard me say it many times in the conference, but I'm also a mum, so I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and yeah, that's my full-time gig. This business is my side hustle. But I really understand this thing of this difficulty when you see this child in front of you that you really want to do so well for. You want to set them up for success. You want to feel like you've used these little years completely, and all this exhausting taking care of your child has been really worth it. But at the same time, I really understand that sting of feeling like your child needs more support. And here's the truth. None of us have perfect children. They are little angels, they are blessings, they're amazing. And just like us as adults, they all have their strengths and the areas that they need a little bit of extra support. And in the toddler years, meeting that support, how do you figure it out, right? Because you're still figuring out how to parent, and they have so many needs, big emotions, big feelings, and big desires to be independent. So I really understand this this feeling. And also in this webinar, basically the reason that this came about is because when I was like first home with both of my kids, I really wanted to do well. So I started researching a lot. What should I be doing? Like, I had spent years working in preschool, so I don't know, it doesn't feel like, do I need to be doing like circle time all day? Like, do we really need to be living on a schedule that's like 15-minute break here, and then again circle time, and then we do this, and then we come back and do circle time? And like, how do we live our lives in a way that really supports every single area of development? And also it doesn't make us as the parents like just go crazy and burn out, right? So today, what I want you to walk away with is firstly, what types of activities or play research says that toddlers need. Then the recommended amount of time to spend on each in a way that would support their development, and a clear daily flow that supports every area of development. Because I'm sure you've understood this. I want this to be something that is actionable, like saying, yes, let's do circle time every 15 minutes. It's not really realistic for us as parents. And I want something that feels like this is your flow, like that just in the way that we live, we are supporting our children. And at the end of this webinar, I'm also going to be telling you about my membership community Playful card and about how you can connect with us there. So the first thing that I want you to really understand before we get in there, and I'm just going to pop back quickly to see if you are all seeing me. Yes, 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 you're seeing me? Lots of yeses. Okay. So can you guys relate with anything that I've said there, that feeling of like being on a bit of a hamster wheel, like wanting to do the best, but kind of getting stuck in like that entertainment cycle? It's like you read my mind. Right. I think that often we think that each of us, like our lives are so different to each other, but often they are very similar in this experience of raising kids. Okay, so I'm happy you can see me, and we're going to go back to this. That development is hierarchical. So big word, what does it mean? It means that there are foundational blocks, and that if we want these like upper level things, so you can see on this diagram, this is by Taylor and Trott, and I just love this pyramid. You can see at the top we have like academic learning or behavior, intellect, cognition, social skills is up there as well. So this is the things we want for our children, right? We like really want that they would do well in life, that they would have a great friendship circle, that they would be, you know, able to do whatever job they have well. Not necessarily that they would be in academia, but that anything that they do follow, that they would have a passion for that, and that they would have good understanding of the work that they do, whether that's work with their hands or work with their mind or work with their bodies, that they would really be able to walk into that. But here's the thing, often we see like this idea of what we're supposed to do with our children as like a preschool example, and we say, okay, so it's like academics. Or we see a social media idea. Don't get me wrong, like social media can be really good, but sometimes it also does make everything super glitzy and glossy and rainbow colored. And when you're experiencing that on the other side of a realistically messy house, where play does spread around the room, doesn't stay contained always in like a perfect little pyramid, it becomes like a bit disconnected, right? Like, well, how do we get to okay? How do we get to right if everything that like is reality looks so much unglittery and unglossy, and there's no pizzazz there? So this pyramid is super helpful because it shows us that actually the way that children develop isn't necessarily like those top level things that would be like academics or like circle time all the time, like a full on preschool setup, but they need to develop those basic underlying skills. I know that you've gotten a lot of ideas about this from the conference, and I want us to now be able to kind of take this and put it into practice. Like we've learned about primitive reflex integration. What does that mean for our life? We've learned about fine motor. Like, what does that mean in terms of actually getting it done in the day? So I'm going to click back over here. I want to ask you, did you all get your workbook? Oh, the slides are very small. Okay, I'll try like zoom in on there. Maybe that would be really helpful. You let me know also if that works. But what I did want to say, yeah, because it's going to be like half the screen, right? Is that what you see? Did you get the workbooks? If you haven't gotten your workbook, if you click the description of this video, if you're on YouTube, it will be there. And otherwise, you should have gotten it in your email as well. So that workbook, you will need it now. I want you to think about your children or child. Oh, how do I zoom in? I wonder on this. No. Oh, no. I always do this. Okay. No, I don't want to learn more about Canva. Thank you. Guys, I'm not so good with tech. I wonder if I could zoom from here. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to carry on because I am going to tell you the numbers. And I think that you'll be able to get it even if the slide is small. Why are you still here? No. Oh my goodness, what am I doing? Okay, we're going to leave it here. Oh, there we go. Yeah, okay, so just to say also, this pyramid, like, don't worry about learning the things that are in there. You don't need to know that. It's just as an example so that you can see. So if you look in here, we have like our very cute little toddler there with the clock and what hours or time needs to be spent in each kind of thing. So you should have this in your workbook. You'll have like sleep, movement-based play, and I want you just to write down the number that's applicable for your child. So at the top of this page, we have like 1, 2, and 3. That means 1 being a 1-year-old, somebody who's 12 to 24 months, and a 2-year-old being 24 to 36 months, and a 3-year-old being between age 3 and 4. So this, I have basically spent hours reading tons of different research papers, and the thing about research papers is that sometimes they're a bit conflicting. Like one research paper says this and it seems like such an exaggerated amount, and another research paper says this. So I've read tons and tons of research papers and tried to pull together recommendations from all over to put this list together. Really, I did this for myself and for my children to just kind of be able to prioritize what we do in our day. So the first thing is there's recommendations for sleep, and I want you to just take note that not every child needs exactly this amount. This would be like including their nap times. So in the first year we have 11 to 14 hours, that's including nap time. The second year 12 to 13 hours, and in the third year 10 to 13 hours, because they're obviously dropping naps generally around there. So not every child is going to be specifically like meeting these numbers exactly on, and that's why in your paper you have one column that says the recommendation and another column that says what this means for us. So what I want you to do as we're moving through this is think about what kind of things do you normally do in your day that would mean this thing. So for example, with sleep, like if you get your normal nap time and your normal bedtime, this isn't something that you even think about like normally in the day. Movement, for us, I have very active children, so any kind of play generally involves a lot of movement. So it's not something that I super worry about, but I kind of interpret it as if we get out of the house, whether we go for a walk or to the park or a bike ride, it doesn't really matter. If we're getting out of the house, I know that that movement time is more or less covered, just because of the way that my children are. For other families, you might see like this movement time is like, that's quite a big leap from what we have right now. So you're going to want to add a little bit more intention behind getting in movement time, right? And I want you to think of this entire thing that we go through as intention. Intention for a bit more here, intention for a bit more there, or a bit less there. You know, it's not like a black and white thing. Don't try to like count the minutes on this. It'll just freak you out. That's not the point. Okay, so movement. So it's actually recommended, and this is like on the lower spectrum of the general recommendations, that children should be moving for at least 3 hours a day. That might be like squatting down and doing a puzzle, or it might be playing in a playground. What is important to note is that by the third year over here, we are expecting that our child has an hour of those 3 hours as very energetic movement time. And this is really important. I've worked a lot with this in terms of occupational therapy, that children need to also like start practicing that endurance and that like strengthening their heart muscles. So they really need to be allowed to run. So you can think about your daily life, like the way that your home is structured and the setup. Do your children get enough time to like really exert themselves? So it's only in the third year that there's like a recommendation that it has to be like, it should be at least an hour, but it is in the earlier ages as well. Like by 2, children are generally running. So we do want to definitely allow time and space for that more energetic play. Now I have play. I think on your sheet, it says like independent play, but this basically in my mind is more like unstructured time. 30 minutes, I would say, is like a combined time. So it could be 2 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 10 minutes there. In some of our talks, we've talked about that, like how independent play or unstructured play isn't necessarily one block of time, but it's spread out throughout the day. But if you're getting to the end of the day generally and you're saying like there was no time that I like looked over and my kid was interacting by themselves in something interesting. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be by themselves with their siblings, but that it wasn't that like an activity, like now we're going to do this. They were just interacting and playing. Like bath time might be your child's like big independent playtime. They might love to bath and splash water and play, and that's amazing. That counts. Like this doesn't have to look like something, right? It doesn't have to look like something was built or whatever. Studies are showing that children at the moment have really, really low amounts of unstructured time, that we are like over-structuring their time. So as much as possible, try to just keep this in the back of your mind. It doesn't have to be like a 2 hour straight set. That might be really unrealistic for your family. But that you are allowing time that is unstructured, because what often happens is that as soon as there's unstructured time, if we have screens around, they're like going straight to screens or snacks. So we want to really like get this muscle strengthened of them being able to play and interact independently. And I'm not going to go into why that's so important because you've learned it in the conference. Okay, so I'm just going to switch back here. And are you getting all of these? Like, you said maybe switch focus to the slides. Yeah. Oh, like a full screen slide? I could try that. But I'd love to hear from you guys. Like, are you like on board? Are you following what I'm saying? Does this make sense in terms of time? And again, this is like 30 minutes here is for the 1-year-old, this is the 2-year-old, and this is the 3-year-old. So reading is like a really interesting one. I would have written here literacy, because I don't think that this is only reading time. This could also be singing time, nursery rhyme time, and we had like a thread that came up in the group about reading and like sitting. And reading for young children might not be like this very still picture of like a quiet moment. Reading. It might be like involving quite a bit of movement. It might be quite interactive. That's fine. What we do want to do is like just add intentional time that we know that our children are getting exposed to rich vocabulary. So obviously when we read books, there's a sense of richness in what the book presents in terms of language. My example that I always give is that little blue truck that it's got like muck and mire, like the truck got stuck in muck and mire. And this is like something I would never say at home, but it's like translated into my children's play. Whenever they're playing like mud and trucks, there's always muck and mire. And so reading and literacy exposes our children to that additional language, much higher than television or any kind of screens would. There has been quite a few very controversial studies about how much we need to read to our children. There was one study that it's called like the 1,000,000 word gap, that children that are read 5 books a day, when they enter school, they have like 1,000,000 words more than children that weren't read to regularly. I don't think that we need to quantify the amount of words, and I also don't think that we need to like get really strict on the amount of books. I think that it's good to just add into our routine, like there in your columns, you'll have what this means for us. So for some families, this will mean like in the afternoon having like a quiet time where we have books available, maybe audiobooks, maybe books, maybe we do nursery rhymes. For other families, this is going to be your bedtime stories. We had somebody post in the group about like bath time stories, which is just so fun. But yeah, this is basically it, like making it work for your family. So I want you to think about in that other column, like what this means for our family, when you would be putting those in. Okay, creative time. So in yours, it might have said art there. I'm not sure what I put, but basically, again, this is like not something that I want to put a specific word on, but it's great to be exposing our children to like creative play or art materials or different kinds of materials that they can manipulate to really like stimulate that creative play, but it also uses a lot of their problem solving, thinking skills, sequencing, and fine motor skills. So this could be art activities, this could be sensory bins, this could be Play-Doh, anything. This could be like painting on the sidewalk with water. This could be, you know, painting with a stick in the mud. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, you know, something very structured. And again, like there's so much overlap. For my family, often creative time is linked with movement time because like they're moving while they're building something. They're using Play-Doh, but it's around a table, so they're moving from one like part to another, and you know it involves a lot of movement. So as much as possible, there are time recommendations here, but try to just think about what it means for your family instead of like getting too stuck on the amount of time. But I think that creative time is something that we should be offering to our children daily. In our home right now, we have like art stuff actually like on the shelves that our children can take, but we have also had like a big case of the wall drawing. So you need to see like how that works. When my children were younger, what I did is whenever I cooked, I had like something that I called art hour, but it was more like 10 or 15 minutes. And we had like special music that we played at that time, and it was like their art time. And I'd give them different pens and stuff every day. We want to be exposing them to various materials. If your children don't like any art materials, expand, think more. Like think, okay, let's paint with ice then. Like let's use different kinds of paints. Let's find different kinds of pens that feel differently. Let's use different kinds of cardboard. Like variety is really key when it comes to creativity. And also, again, this is very process-based, like Gabrielle spoke about on the first day. And so we're not trying to like make them do crafts necessarily, just a lot of like free expression using creative materials. Social skills. Now, we know that social skills are built from attachment. Like if your child is attached to their primary caregiver, that is how they learn emotional regulation, and that's how they get to social skills. So again, pyramid. So if you can focus on that. I know this year has been so difficult for social skills and just like getting that exposure. So if this 2 to 3 times a week to see other children is impossible for you, let it go this year in a pandemic. Like we can let it go for now. This is something that we'll focus on more later. But in an ideal world, I think that this would be a good kind of aim for children to be exposed to other children or other adults that are maybe not within the home. If you have siblings, and this is important to say, so there are some situations where you know, you can just like cross off some of these from your list because your child is in daycare or preschool and they're getting a lot of these already done, for, like included in their day in preschool. It's really important that you check that. Sometimes we presume that, for example, that at the daycare there would be a lot of movement, and then when you actually like break it down, it's very structured. So you would still want to get more movement in. So always find out. But for example, social, if your child is in daycare, this is probably something that you don't need to really worry about too much, and it becomes much more relevant in the 4th year and the 3rd and 4th year. So this is like 3 to 4 times a week would be ideal. Okay, connection time. So actually we had some talks on this today. This is what research says. 10 to 15 minutes of connected time with your children fills their cup and makes them feel seen, heard, appreciated, and gives them the sense of attachment so that their personality can start to bloom. What you want this connection time to be is child-led as much as possible. So that might be, you know, like teacher. That might be you running around the house. This is like at the moment our favorite thing in the house, like just my husband and my children running around, like rough and tumble play. This is like something that doesn't necessarily have a point or an end or a start, but it's like that the child would lead you in this. And in this really connection time, what you are wanting to do is like really be present. You might feel, if for example you're a stay-at-home mom, you might feel like, oh my gosh, I'm with my child all day, like certainly I don't need more connection. And maybe you don't. Maybe in that time you're very, very connected. But often what does happen is that we're like half with them because we're doing so many other things, and that they haven't really gotten that like deep connection time. So try to find, if you can, 10 minutes, if you can do it every day, every other day, especially with siblings, to just really like follow them, be with them, connect with them. Okay, and then sedentary is just, yeah, just to say, this is like your time, like screen time, being in a stroller, being in a car seat. It's hard to say like a max or a minimum. Obviously, it's something that we don't really want our children to do. And like not to do, but not to have too much of it. So this is where our understanding of development comes in really big, because sometimes we think, okay, well, because we want our children to do like always art time or craft time or fine motor activities or cognitive activities or puzzles, that they should always be sitting. But actually we do want them moving is like a priority in these little years. So sedentary time, like just like be wary of it. I don't think that it's realistic to say like no screens ever, no car seats. You know, you have to work with what your family has. And then this, I'll just briefly say, the self-help skills, you have that also on your list, on your worksheet, is something that I think our children should be exposed to daily in the toddler years. So this is year 1, year 2, and year 3. And just some things that might be relevant in those years. But in the toddler years, their brains are like literally geared towards wanting to be independent. It is like innately in them that like, I do it is not just your child. It is something that they're like, they have to learn, right? And we, being the caring and kind and considerate caregivers that we are, can often just like override this in a sense to like do it right and have everything neat and tidy. But as much as possible, we need to be like, you know, letting the rope go a little bit and giving them opportunities to feel independent. So I'm sure you've read while I've been talking, but these are just some ideas that you can do within these age groups, like learning to feed yourself in your first year, in your second year, learning to dress yourself, washing your hands, in the third year, starting chores, helping with food preparation. Okay, so now we are going to go. I'm just going to have a little sip of water and switch back here and see. Yeah, nursery rhymes count. Yeah, they sure do. Okay, so it sounds like, what was the time for reading? Vanessa, just let me know what age group you were talking about there. I can switch back to the reading part. Is there such a thing as too much independent play? That's a great question. I think that you need to look at it like holistically. So each child will have, like, sometimes we talk about our children having like motors. Some children have motors that are like very busy. So they are active, they're like movement seekers, they're actively moving and engaging and exploring their world, and there's no rock uncovered by them. Those children, I wouldn't worry too much about the amount of independent play. The children that have like slower engines, so they're like a little bit, I don't love the word passive, but they're not uncovering every rock, you know, that they are waiting for you to engage them. Those children, if you feel like they are just kind of not really like focusing in on a play, or, you know, just like having kind of open time, you might want to start like just revving them up a little bit, and movement can really help in that. Vanessa says the 1-year-old. Okay, I'll go back to the reading times quickly. And yeah, I will make this available somehow. Okay, here we go. So reading times, again, like the recommendation in terms of research is 5 books, but I think it really depends. Like some children at 1-year-old can go read a really long book. My eldest, when he was 1, could read a really long book. So, you know, 5 books, that can take us a long time. So it really depends on your child. I would say like have the intention to at least have 10 minutes a day that you're dedicating or like putting reading on the agenda. Okay, so now what I want to do is like actually make this, we've talked about like what they need in a day, but now how do we put this into place? And I'm sure that while we were going through that, you were like, oh, but we do this every day and that's not in there. So I want you to just like think about like what bracket that would fall into again, like what does this mean for our family? So for example, if you go for swimming lessons 3 times a week, great, that's movement. You go for a special like enrichment class where they do music group and circle time, like that would probably fall more into literacy. Just, try to think not just in terms of like an activity, but like how it actually works for your day. Okay, so what do I need to get done in my day? So this is the first thing. Whether you are working or like with your children first full time, it's very unlikely that the entire time that they're with you and awake, that you just like don't have any responsibilities. We all have like houses to clean and emails to reply to, phone calls to make, food to cook, whatever it be. So I want you to think about, and your thing that you guys have, if you have the colored version, you can actually you can download it and then click it and type into it. Just type out 3 things that like in this time that you're with your children, you really want to get done. Now, for some people, this might be like, for me, I often work while my children play. It might be cooking. That's like a really natural one that a lot of us do, right? We need to cook while our children are with us. For other people, this might be, I want to exercise, I want to read a book, I want to have like a moment of reflection. Important things that are for you. Just write down 3 for now, and you can come back to this as well. Things that you need to get done in your day. So I'm not talking about like during nap time or whatever, like with the times that you're with your child. Okay, then I want you to think about your day generally. For most of us, we have certain things, at least in the week, maybe weekends are a little bit different, a little bit more flexible, but we have like things that anchor our day. Like these things are always there. We do this every day. For me, nap time is definitely one of our anchors of our day. It's there every single day. Dinner time is an anchor for us. Think about 3 events, and it might not necessarily be just meal times. It might be like a nap time. It might be a morning run that you go on, like something that you think like these are like the things that don't move in our day. We're always getting these, most of the time, getting these things in. And I want you to write those down, because what we're going to be doing on the next slide is really building a flow for your day. So not just like a schedule that is super rigid and has like 15 minutes here and 15 minutes there, because we probably won't do that. Yeah, sorry, I'm just reading one of the questions. So play here doesn't need to be independent play, right? Oh, it's jumped. 1 to 2 hours for 3-year-olds. It doesn't necessarily, so we often think of independent play as like, your child like in the room alone playing by themselves. Like often independent play is like you being alongside them. What I would say, it doesn't necessarily have to be independent, but it should be like unstructured. So for example, going to the park for our family, it takes movement and unstructured play, because I'm not directing my children. They're choosing what they're doing, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean, like when I say that, it doesn't necessarily mean building Lego. It doesn't, there's no real box that it fits into. It means that you're not like doing a very like structured activity. Now we do this, now press here. You're giving them that like opportunity to explore. If I do this will be better. Whoa, 1,000 windows here. Okay. I wonder if that looks clearer for you guys, or if it's still really small. Okay, but anyway, the next thing that we're going to go into, so we've talked about those 3 anchors, you've written them down, hopefully. Now we're going to talk about combo systems. So what a combo system is basically, my child does this while I do this. you probably have several that you already do. And I'm going to switch back over to here in the group and just ask you, like, sorry, I'm going to get my glasses on here. Yeah, so Bushra, this is an interesting comment, like that you try to do most of the things that you have to get done while your child is asleep. So I think that when we do allow that we are doing things alongside our child, they learn a little bit more about independent skills, and they also get that exposure to playing independently because they're alongside us and we're not necessarily like stepping into the role of being their entertainer. This does really vary according to your child's age. And again, it's like a muscle, we need to stretch it. So some children, like in probably around like 2 or 3, these stretches will be much longer. Other children, like just putting laundry in the washer can feel like such a stretch. But what I want us to do now is to think about 3 areas that you could combine. So when I put the washing in the washer, my child is going to X alongside me. And that could be that they're pulling out washing, they're like helping you load the washing machine. You guys, what do you guys call it? A washing machine or a laundry? Anyway, so I want you to think about that. Like, let's talk first about cooking. And I'd love to hear you here in the comment section, give me your ideas. What can your child do, your young toddler do while you cook? I said earlier, one of the things that I used to do was art, like just coloring, especially when my little girl was still like in a high chair, because it's just a lot easier. It gives you that like 10 minutes, they're doing something so that you can do the thing that you need to get done. Washing machine. Okay, good to know. So any other ideas, just pop them on here into the comment section. What would you combine cooking with? When you're cooking, what can your child be doing? Yeah, exactly. Pots and pans on the floor. Oh yeah, Tupperware cupboard is like a favorite while you're cooking, right? And every house has their boundaries differently, and like I completely respect that. You need to see what serves your family, and I personally am okay with children playing in the Tupperware cupboard because I think it's like such great open-ended play for them. But see what works for your family. Another one of the suggestions that was made also during the conference was giving them cooking stuff to do. So like you get different types of knives, you can get them to butter stuff, you can get them to like top and tail peas, or green beans, you can get them to tear lettuce. Like there's a lot of things that you can get them to do with you that can somehow contribute towards your cooking. One of the things that I've been doing recently with my kids is like I put everything in the pots and I just let them stir. It's already all in there. They're just stirring. It's not hot yet. And then I take the pot and put it on the stove. So that, you know, they just felt like they were part of it, because remember that self-help is also like really important for them. Anchors, naps, bath. Yeah, bath would definitely be an anchor. If it's something that you do consistently at that time, whatever is something, you know, consistent for your family. Okay, so we've talked about those combination systems. We talked about cooking. I would encourage you to think, when we finish today, about 2 more, so that you have 3 combination systems that you can work in your house. Like I used to have, when I was having like quiet time in the morning, I had a certain like song that's like a movement song for my children that they'd have like 10 minutes to play this, like, you know, it's like, I'm gonna like, if I want to sing it, obviously I'm not going to because it'll sound really bad, but it's like it's an animal walk kind of song. So think about 3 things that in this thing, it's really important for you to get this thing done in your day. It makes your day go better, whatever. For example, exercise. Like exercise is a time, let's say your exercise is walking, you could easily have your child in the stroller while you're walking, and that's completely fine. It could be that they're exercising alongside you. It could be that while you exercise, they play blocks, something like this. Please sing it. It's like one of those songs. It's like very like, I can't. No, I can't. I will like drop the link in here because it's a YouTube thing and it's a really nice one. Okay. I don't know why it comes up like that with 5,000 pages. Anyway. Okay, so you basically have now what you need to start putting your flow into place. I think that from what we've talked about, you've seen like where your child's needs are, and now being able to see what your needs are and what those combination systems can be and what your anchors are, you can start really putting this into your like flow. Because if you can have a system, like if we just have the system, this is how we do meal times so that the food actually gets on the table. They do this, I do this, and it supports their development and it supports me. So I don't have to worry about our time at a different time because we have it every day at mealtime. It just takes so much pressure off of us in terms of facilitating that. And in terms of like that, like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do today? You know, like this experience. And I laugh about it. It was on, I think, the conference, like sign up page, but because this has happened to me and this has happened to so many of my friends as well, it's like you get to 9 o'clock, it's 9 a.m. and you're like, we've done everything. We've done all the activities that could possibly ever be. And it's 9 a.m. What are we going to do for the rest of the day? So if you have this flow and like this understanding that, like, yes, that like boredom time when they're just flitting around the house, it's a good thing for them. This is like the gateway for them to step into independent play and creativity. You can like really step back, right? So I've just put in some examples of what we would do here, and you can see because my children now are 2 and 4, it does like playtime can be a lot longer than say when they were 1 and 3. But this is what I would encourage you to do at the end of this talk is really just like look at those anchors. You can see there's like an anchor picture here. What are they? Fill them into the schedule, and then like just kind of think about the flow of the things that you can put around that. Movement time, would you maybe be putting in a reading time? Like how would you structure the original things that we had? So these original things of sleep, movement, play, reading, creative play, social play, connection time, and sedentary time, as well as those self-help skills. And I really want to encourage you not to feel overwhelmed by this. Again, every child is different. It's unlikely that any of us will be like hitting every single one of these on every single day, but this is just gives you a guide to like walk towards, like, and also then have that freedom to sometimes say no to things. For me personally, I had like a lot of stress about not having my eldest in daycare, so he wasn't getting like this, like a lot of social exposure every single day. And it kind of seems counterintuitive sometimes. Sometimes when we see like that it's difficult in social situations, we think like, well, we just need to put them with friends more and more and more and more and more. But if we understand development holistically, sometimes it means that they need more connection time first. So this, like understanding this broad picture gives you the freedom to say like, I'm not going to stress about this one thing. Like, I'm just going to let that go. It doesn't matter. I'm going to focus in on this. Like, I'm going to look at my child holistically and just trust this like really natural thing of development. So what does it say here? Making the most of the little years. How cute is this little kid? So we know that in these little years, like from age 0 to 5, 90% of the brain networks are formed. And like I said, that each of our children are unique in their gifts and also unique in the areas that they need a little bit of extra support. And the truth is, we often think, at least as a therapist, what I often hear is like, well, they struggle with this thing, so we'll send them to therapy. And therapy is half an hour once a week. The thing that really makes the difference in your child's life is those small moments, like that daily drip. The daily moments are the things that will win out, because compounded, those just make up their whole life. And now we're going to be moving on to, I want to just tell you about my membership community, because child development is so important to me. And because I understand this position of being a mom and just like wanting to have some more support, but also not just have the time, but experience the time. To feel confident in your child's development. Like, you don't need to be worrying at the end of the day, like, did I do this, and did I have my checklist, and maybe I haven't done something like somebody else did it, so maybe that's not good enough. And I wanted to share with you just one of the feedbacks from one of our members, that she said, being part of this community has really helped her feel confident in her ability to support her daughter's development. And that is what I want. If I could give you one gift, it would be confidence in your ability. Because the truth is that, and like, again, I'm saying this as a therapist, when you see a child for half an hour once a week, it is the parent that is the one that is going to be advocating for this child for their entire life, that is going to be supporting them through all those little ups and downs their entire life. And these little moments and the things that you do for your children every single day are the things that make the difference. Another comment from one of our Playful Pod members that I just really, really loved is that, it's not just about having the confidence to feel like you're doing enough, but also to enjoy the season. It goes so fast. And she says that being inside Playful Pod gave her the permission to really enjoy her child's development. So just inside of the membership, what it basically is, it's a monthly membership. And we have inside every month a play magazine, so we have all kinds of different themes. You can see the one that's open here was on Play-Doh, so we just like really break down schematic play invitations. So I don't want to give you play invitations that are for 5-year-olds or like end of 4-year-olds. We're talking about toddlers, 1 to 4-year-olds, those kids that like, even all the toddler stuff on the internet often like they don't understand yet because they haven't gotten that like full grasp of receptive language and sequencing. And we really focus in on these basic, we spoke about those foundational skills for development is where we really put this membership. We have masterclasses, 2 of them every month. And again, we like go into different areas of development, like sensory processing. We've had scissor skills, fine motor development, and we have like a big library as well. I think we've got like 30 videos in there already of just like equipping you as parents with really understanding these like little nuances in child development and how these small little changes that you can make or small little things that you offer can really make the difference for your child's development. We also have a deep dive every month, which is your chance to ask me any questions about your child's development, and we really like can break it down also as a community and like really understand again, those small nuances and get like a holistic perspective on child development, as well as a village. It's so important. I mean, I think we all experienced this after the year of COVID, that we need connection. Connection builds us up. So we have a supportive community, which is like on Facebook. And within that, we also have monthly challenges. They're called reset challenges, which is like, it's my favorite part of this membership, because have you ever experienced this? You feel like your day is just like it's like a haze, and you get to the end of the day, and you're just like, whoa, what happened today? It's like, it's just so full. And often we have these big intentions, these big dreams and hopes, and we see a lot of things in our children that we like, oh yeah, that looks like that's a bit difficult. And it's like, sit down and explain that to them properly. And then time just goes and we don't really get the chance. So this reset is our chance that we really like dive intentionally into making changes to help support our children. And they are super, super fun. We did like recently like a toy rotation and toy decluttering. We've done resets on like setting up art in areas that invite play. If anybody from Playful Pod is here and you want to just chime in, we'd love to hear you as well. And if you join, you also get some bonuses. So I have a child development mini e-course, which is like 3-part video training. And this really gives you the ability to understand development like from a holistic perspective. I think it's a really fantastic course, and I'm sure that you'll enjoy it, as well as monthly themed printables for pretend play. So you can see here we have an ice cream parlor that we did. So that is Playful Pod. It is $23 a month, and you can cancel anytime. There's no sticky contracts. Or you can choose to commit to the full year and you get a $39 discount for the 12 months. And if you do the full year, I also have like an additional bonus in there that we do a plan for your unique child's development and like a plan on how you can really maximize the support in the areas that they need. So we've spoken about this thing of time. Time is something that we can't get back. And I'm going to click over here because I'm sure that you will know the quote that I'm talking about. So if I say to you, the days are long, but I'm sure you're going to say it, but the years are short. And they just fly by. And that's really what I want. Each member that joins Playful Pod, that walks this journey with us, that you would be able to truly experience the wonder of these little years. And just to make it a little bit sweeter, if you join me in the next 24 hours, Playful Pod's doors are going to be opening like right after this call. If you join me in the next 24 hours, I will also be giving you, whether it's for the year or the 3 months, 3 of our most popular digital magazines from previous months. So the one is on painting with toddlers, the other is on Play-Doh, with like Play-Doh invitations with toddlers, and we've got making Play-Doh and all kinds of fun stuff in there. And the last one is on scissor skills for this age group. Yeah, so I'm going to close the webinar now, but I would just like to say that thank you so much for being with me today and throughout this, this conference. It's been a wonderful experience for me. I would love to have you join us inside of our membership community, and I will also be leaving the link for that on this video. So if you're catching on the replay, you can also grab that. Remember, you have 24 hours if you want to get those extra 3 magazines. If there's any questions, yeah, sure, Crystal. If there's any questions, you let me know. If I didn't get to answer anything, it's quite hard with this chat box because it just runs so fast. Oh, great. I'm so happy to hear that, Amy. Oh, it's so nice to be able to see these familiar names, guys. It's really fun. Creative, I think, was 15 minutes. Social was like 2 to 3 times a week. And then, yeah, we spoke about the energetic in the movement time, that when they're 3, they need an hour of that really energetic movement time. If there's anybody else that has a question that they feel like I didn't get to, please let me know. Thanks, Priscilla. I'm so glad that it was helpful. Oh, we have another Holly. The Tupperware. Okay, so I'm going to close it now. It doesn't seem like there's anybody with a pressing question that they want to ask. Thank you so much for being with me. Bye, everyone.